and welcome to the Epic Marketing Show. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I have a fantastic guest with me, the lovely Col. He is from Pixels Inc. and Col is a brand expert, and we're going to be looking at the new rebranding that Infusionsoft has gone through. So Infusionsoft is now Keap, and I wanted an expert opinion on how he feels the brand has kind of done, how he feels it conveys everything, especially for those people who are concerned about the rebrand and aren't quite sure what the whole Keap jam is. So we're going to get Col's opinion on all of this, and then I will lay down what the real stuff is. So we're going to do a little bit of brand tea, really. So, Col, would you like to introduce yourself?
I think you did a good introduction already. Yeah, I'm Col, and I have a little business called Pixels Inc., and we specialize in logo design and helping people out with their brand strategy. We do all the other graphic designy stuff as well, but we're pretty good at the old logo design. So I'm excited to have a chat about this new Keap logo, which I, up front, don't know that much about. I've tried to not look at it at all because I knew we were doing this video, so my knowledge of it's pretty limited.
I think you've done yourself a bit of a disservice there. Col also has an amazing YouTube channel. It's got thousands, literally, of subscribers who hang on Col's every word when it comes to brand advice. So Col is a proper brand expert when it comes to this sort of jazz. So I'm very, very happy to have him on board. He's also very Scottish. So, yeah, in the accent. Now, everyone normally makes fun of me for mine. We can make fun of Col. Excellent.
At least I don't go around saying, "Och, aye, the new."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that. It's not that stereotypical Scottish.
You may as well. Okay, so for those of you not in the know, Infusionsoft has recently rebranded to Keap. And there's been a mixed reception of the rebrand. There's been a lot of people who have got very upset about it, and a lot of people who've just gone, and kind of carried on with their lives. So I thought I'd just kind of carry on stirring the pot, because that's quite fun, and have a look and see what a brand specialist thought of the rebrand. So Col is unbiased in the way that he is not an Infusionsoft user. He's not an active user on any of those platforms. He has a different marketing automation platform that he utilizes. So he's not kind of emotionally attached to any of this. And he has that expert eye on all of the branding stuff as well. So Col, I know that you have had a chance to have a look at some of the logos, which is up here now. So you'll be able to see this is the new Keap logo. And this new logo is the new Infusionsoft. So what are your kind of initial reactions on this? I know you've seen the logo.
Yeah, well, I suppose my initial reaction would be like a lot of people who see a logo for the first time, and the chances are you'll see a logo or a new logo in an article which is talking about a company that's just rebranded. And when you see a logo that way, you're seeing it in isolation. So you're not seeing it along with the way the business organization will be utilizing it alongside other marketing materials. So when you see the logo on its own, you kind of are making a knee-jerk reaction to how the logo is in terms of its design. And my very first initial reaction was, that looks weird. And that's because of the K. And I've got the logo in front of me here, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my monitor to make sure I give the right feedback on this. The K just instantly looks really awkward. And I was like, oh, why is that? I'm not sure why that looks like that. And also, that's not how you spell Keap in my head. Thinking, now I know what Infusionsoft is. I know it's a CRM, so I know it's about kind of communicating with your customers. So my first instinct was, I get why they've called it Keap if the meaning behind it is still the same as KEEP, in that it's to help keep customers, you know, and keep communication with your customers. And I think from looking at the shape of the K, as a brand designer, I know that there will be a reason behind it. And my first initial instinct was that this brand is going to heavily utilize arrows for motion and movement and direction, And I think that's going to be seen when I look at more materials, and in particular animations, which are big now for a lot of, when people are rebranding or creating new brands. Animation and video is big these days. So having a logo design which can be animated using motion graphics is kind of key for a lot of people. So I had the feeling that there was going to be a lot of arrows showing there. So that was my first instinct. That was the first thing I got from it, was it looked a little bit awkward. I liked the name. It's really short.
Yeah.
Very hard to get a name these days. It's only 4 letters.
Yeah.
I'll rely on you, Kenda, telling me if the spelling that they have there is the same as KEEP, and my thoughts on it meaning to kind of keep customers and keep in contact and all of that kind of good stuff that could come from that word. So that was my first instinct from it.
Great. So I have a little piece of swag here from Infusionsoft, now Keap, and we can really see that when you're looking at the word, the K is awkward. It's the first thing that your eye is kind of drawn to. But you block that little top bit off of the K, and then you've got your little arrow. So if, in case you're just wondering what Col's talking about.
I should have explained. Yeah.
Exactly. So look, it kind of, you've already touched on this a little bit, and I'm really interested to hear your kind of gut feeling on this. So in a little bit, what I'm actually going to do is I will take all of us through the story behind the logo rebrand, why Infusionsoft decided to rebrand, and the problem that it's actually solving. As an Infusionsoft and now Keap certified partner, that they kind of let us know before they were doing the rebrand, so it wasn't a surprise to all of us, and they gave us the full story. So I will introduce you into that, but I would really like to know from you, Col, what do you feel with the logo itself, not necessarily the word, but the logo itself and the way the logo is designed? What do you feel they're trying to convey? What's your reaction on that?
Well, I think, as I said, the logo, it looks and feels quite awkward because of that K. And, you know, without leaping ahead and trying to sort of say, I'm sure they're going to justify this with everything that they've done. It is awkward, but awkward doesn't necessarily need to be a negative thing. There's millions of logos out there, and you want your logo to kind of catch people's attention. So one way of doing that is to introduce a little bit of awkwardness, or a little bit of something that people aren't expecting or not used to make you go, why is that like that? And it may be that you go, why is that? I don't like that. But you have an opinion.
Yeah, instead of no opinion. Yeah.
You know, you're not just going, and I'll move on. As you know, and sometimes that's what you have to do. You know, as a logo designer, I want everyone to look at my work and go, oh, that's the best thing ever. I see what they're doing there. But people have busy lives, and most people will be like, okay, they've changed the logo. What have they done to the software? Is that going to change for me? And that's probably where most people would go. There's been a lot of brands change recently. Slack, for example, changed theirs. There was a big uproar about that. People hated it. People thought it was good. Life can be too short at times. And I think some people can get so angry at a logo change, but that shows the invested interest that your community or customers can have. You know, they feel like they have ownership of your brand. So this has not been an easy decision for Keap to do. This has been thought out. And I'm really keen to know, and you're going to tell me, I'm really keen to know that this is a big decision. Infusionsoft's a big brand, got a lot of customers. Was it 200,000 customers or something? Yeah. So for them to make this move means that they felt there was a problem with their brand, that they needed to reposition themselves in a way that they felt communicated more what they're trying to do. So yes, for me, it's an awkward looking logo, but it piqued my interest a lot to learn more. I'm a designer, so I try not to have knee-jerk reactions. I can't say I don't. When Dropbox redid their logo and it was all these weird illustrations, I was like, what the hell are they doing? Dropbox is a storage thing. It's not a creative platform, which is what they were saying. And I've taken that all back, having seen their marketing and stuff and what they're trying to do with it. And it's like, okay, I get it now. That's the last time I ever judge a logo in isolation and not actually do my homework. Now, not everyone's going to do that because not everyone's a logo designer. People are just going to go, well, that's a bit shit. I don't like that. Sorry for swearing. I don't like that.
Those are the
that's
exact
how most
words.
people will be. And I'm pretty sure.
When Infusionsoft launched, and kind of before it launched, when it launched to the partners that it was changing to Keap, I literally turned around to Mike and went, "That's a bit shit." That is literally words that came out of my mouth. I was like, I don't know where they're going with this. And as I kind of like got more into it, I understood, and that clarity of understanding makes me.
But not everyone. That's the thing. Exactly. Not everyone is going to give it that time.
Exactly.
And so that's the danger for any brand.
Yeah.
And that's why some brands like Gap and quite a few actually American football teams who changed their logo without consultation and just do it, have often gone back and spent millions and then gone back to the old one because it was too much and people were freaking out about it. Part of me thinks that they shouldn't do that. If you feel that you've done the right journey and process and it's the right thing, then you should stick to your guns and people should come along with you. But I said, at the end of the day, there's a bottom line, I suppose. And if people are going to be leaving in kind of droves, then that's it. But I think these days brands are trying to almost polarize their audience so that they have real advocates who love and will do anything and then push the people away that they're like, you're not our ideal customer. You're not the kind of person we want to hang around. Nike are an example of that with their stance on with that American football player. They had people setting fire to their Nike trainers and stuff. I'm never buying Nike. But in a way, it was the best publicity that Nike could get because it drove other people closer saying, well, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to buy another pair of Nikes to show my support.
Exactly.
It's a dangerous thing, but that's the power of logos and branding. That's what it will do to people. And that's why people invest so much money and time in it. But I've kind of, gone on a bit about what was your first reaction to the logo. But awkward is how I felt.
Awkward.
Okay. So I'm really keen to hear what you were delivered by the CEO and stuff in the partners call. That would be interesting.
So, I mean, just on the topic of awkward, before we move on to that, when I kind of first saw this awkward little K, it reminded me of Starbucks. So Starbucks has gone through so many iterations of its little mermaid lady that is on the cups. And in order to make the mermaid lady a little bit less awkward, a few years ago, they made her like a mirror image. So she was like in half and it was perfect in both sides. And people had really negative reactions to that without realizing it. It was such a small logo change. This was actually in a bunch of case studies I was looking at for behavior change through logo.
It's a tiny change. Tiny change. That most people would consciously, they will not recognize.
Exactly. They didn't recognize that they were having it, but they felt less, they liked the logo less and they didn't know why. And what kind of Starbucks realized was because everything was symmetrical, it didn't look like a human face because human faces aren't perfectly symmetrical. So they went back and they increased a very slight, and you can have a look if you take a Starbucks cup and you sort of bend the face in half, you can actually see that the one side is slightly lopsided like a human face would be. Very, very slightly lopsided, very slightly off. And that is what makes people endeared to the Starbucks mermaid lady because she looks more like a human face. So sometimes those tiny little awkward changes can be a good thing. So yeah, I'm very like, when I saw the logo and then when I saw it kind of in isolation, so just the K itself, my first thought was, God damn it, that's wrong. The K looks skew. And then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. So, okay. Before we get into the juice on why Infusionsoft is on that in particular, you've already kind of hinted at that a bit. I think you've hit the nail on the head with that. What do you think of the word choice? So that the actual word keep. I know you kind of said it's spelt weirdly.
And it's kind of it's that thing again. It's the same as the visual. It's like, oh, okay, I've not. is it, obviously they've spelt it that way deliberately, but it reads the same as Keap. My brain was going, is Keap, is that like, a keep, like a castle keep, or is a castle keep spelled Keep? So like, they're kind of trying to do this thing, we'll protect your data or whatever. And I was like, my brain was going through all of these things.
Too creative.
Well, yeah, I have to think these ways and think outside. What could people possibly think? So I liked it from the perspective of it being so short. Like I said earlier, it's so hard to get a short name these days, especially a domain name. You can get them, but you aren't going to be paying your normal $10 for like an original one. Companies will pay, if it means a lot to them, they'll pay thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions to get the domain name which matches their name. I've had clients pay high 4 figures to get domain names to match their rebrand or their new business name. So there is a market in that. So and I just love short names because it's human nature when they're talking about businesses and stuff. If the business has got a long name, they'll shorten it. And over time, you'll find that a lot of the businesses then rebrand to the name that their customers call them by. So I work with a company called The Profitable Firm, and they specialize in working with accountants. They're a creative firm for accountants, and I help them with the branding for those accountants. And as I say, they're called The Profitable Firm, but a lot of people call them PF. Oh, you should go and check out PF. So what we've done is The Profitable Firm are now, the logo is now more simplified, and it just has the initials PF. Now, you can't do that straight away. You have to make sure that that's what people are calling you and stuff, because you're losing the name then. The name isn't up front and center. It's like just PF. Well, what's PF? You have to be sure that in the sector you're in that you've got enough awareness of that. With Infusionsoft changing to Keap, the difference there is that Infusionsoft is a big brand. So they know that as soon as they change to Keap, they're going to get some newsworthy coverage of this. So everyone's going to know they're called Keap. Good or bad, everyone's going to know they're called Keap. And you can't get any shorter than Keap. It's such a short word. And from that perspective, I love it. I think it's a great move. Infusionsoft, to me, if you said to me Infusionsoft, I wouldn't have a clue. I'd have an idea it's like a tech thing or an app or something from the name, but it doesn't say what it does.
No.
And if this Keap means what I think it means way more for a CRM than Infusionsoft, because it's almost doing what it says on the tin. It's keeping contact, keeping you in touch, whatever you want to say Keap, with. So I think it's a great choice of name.
Great.
Regardless of spelling.
I mean, really interestingly, this is one of my favorite pieces of Infusionsoft swag that I got at a partner con. It's like it's a mug. But the word Infusionsoft actually didn't used to be Infusionsoft, and they rebranded from Infusion Software to Infusionsoft.
So people haven't got time to say software.
Exactly. And most of the time we don't even say, I know internally when we're referring to Infusionsoft, we just say IS. We just use those two words. Some of our clients use IFS. I don't like that for some bizarre reason, but we often just say IS when we're referring to Infusionsoft. But keep something that you can't really.
The thing is, well, from a branding point of view, and looking at that mug that you have there, Infusionsoft curves around it, so you have to kind of turn it to read everything, whereas Keap, you can have that really big and it'll still be flat on in front of you exactly. Infusionsoft kind of curves away around the edges. So from branding point of view, in terms of merchandising and marketing, they're going to be able to have Keap a lot larger in a smaller in the small space, whereas Infusionsoft is really long. So in the same size space, that text is going to be smaller. So these are all the things that you need to think about when I'm creating a brand. I'm thinking about how would that look on the side of a helicopter? you know, just weird things. What if they start making microwaves? Where could it go? You need to think about these things. And I know that Pentagram, who are the design agency that created the Keap stuff, you know, Pentagram are massive. They're like one of the go-to places. You know, there's maybe 4 or 5 of that size in the world. You know, and they ain't cheap. But, you know, they can be criticized as well by designers. You know, I don't think that's been successful. I don't think this has been successful, but
anything creative can, though.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's going to be judged on people's tastes, experiences. You know, do they like colors? Do they like arrows? Do they like, you know, there's so many things.
So many
it's not an easy job, which is why I'll say again that it's important that you recreate or you create a rebrand or create a brand based on objectives and goals, so that if someone says, I do not like green, you can say, well, we have used green because studies have shown that green is a more responsive color in this regard. That takes out any personal preferences because you know what it's for. So, so again, be interesting to hear why they've used green.
Well, I'm going to spill the tea now. Hopefully not my actual tea, just the, you know, metaphorical gossip tea. So when Infusionsoft came to us and they said, we're rebranding everything, came to the partner community and said, we're rebranding everything, obviously everyone was like, what's going on? So there's been a big problem within Infusionsoft. And the big problem is in 2018, Infusionsoft officially kind of put their new software out there. So Infusionsoft as a software has been going for 8+ years already as an established CRM and marketing automation system. But there was a new version of Infusionsoft that was released last year. And it had been released to the partner community in different ways as Goldfish before that, a whole bunch of little things. And it was a slightly different type of software. It's still powered by some of the same things, but it has a different target audience. So while Infusionsoft is this big behemoth, often called the Ferrari of the marketing automation systems out there, because it is the kind of really fancy, you can do some awesome shit with this. And you know, some people can't handle that. Some people just go, I don't want a Ferrari. I want something that gets me from A to B because I don't. That's
my experience of it as well. Infusionsoft has always been that's the expensive option when you need to get it at that size. So for someone like me, I don't even look at it.
It's not accessible for you, both in, I would say that you could probably make your money back on the thing, but that's not the point. It's accessible in terms of the time that you have to put in with the steep learning curve of the system.
Yeah, when you hear that, you know, when you sign up to Infusionsoft, you get your own personal person to help you set it up and something like, that sounds way too complex for me. I just want something I can have on my phone that I can just quickly do something and get going. So
Infusionsoft's been really aware of that. And so what it tried to do was release a new kind of version of Infusionsoft that was targeted towards the people like you. So the people who basically had a need.
There's a lot of
had a need for something that was a little bit simpler to use, that wasn't quite as pricey, and that just meant that they can kind of put things in place and it would work. It wasn't like a whole massive learning curve. And Infusionsoft released that version last year. So it's actually been live for about 33 months, I think it is. But in terms of going to the general public with it, that was released last year. That caused pandemonium in terms of understanding what people are talking about. Because now you've got people referring to old Infusionsoft, and of course, Infusionsoft, the company, now Keap, didn't like it being referred to as old Infusionsoft. And then you had new Infusionsoft, and then people were like, okay, so is this the new Infusionsoft? I referred to it as Infusionsoft Lite, which some people didn't like either. And it became this whole complication of like, we've got two software systems that have two separate target audiences. How do we actually distinguish them? And so the kind of, we played with Infusionsoft Pro versus Infusionsoft Flagship and all that kind of stuff. And it was too complicated. So there was that problem that needed to be solved. But there was a second problem as well. Way back in, I think it's 2006, Infusionsoft. You see, this is why it needs to be Keap. Launched its kind of massive, it made available to the world and the partner community what it was trying to do. And it called this its Everest mission. And its Everest mission was to help 100,000 small businesses succeed. That's what it wanted to do. It's always been about small business success for Infusionsoft ever since the get-go. They've been really, really, about let's make sure that we can help small businesses do the things that they need to do to succeed. And so they launched this kind of Everest mission. They achieved that in 2016. So that was done, that was dusted, and they launched their new mission. Where do you go when you've already conquered Everest? You go to Mars, apparently. And so they kind of launched their mission to Mars. And that mission to Mars was all about helping, I think it's 1 million. I'm going to have to double check my figures now. It might be 10 million, but something in the millions, small businesses achieve that success.
Okay.
And they kind of realized that they couldn't necessarily, like saying achieving success, what does that mean? So they came up with the fact that they wanted to help organize and grow over 1 million small businesses. It might be 5 million. Need to check those figures. Just let's pull any million out of there.
Million plus.
Over 1 million. Let's say that. So basically, they said we want to help organize and grow over 1 million small businesses. And when you look at it that way, and you want to help make businesses efficient, you want them to grow, you want to organize them, you want to streamline them, can you really fulfill that with Infusionsoft when the kind of background thought on Infusionsoft is that it's complicated?
Yeah.
And so it's powerful, but that does have a trade-off. And so that was the other thing that they wanted to fix. They knew that the new version of the software was much more modern. It was much more small business friendly. And in that respect, they didn't want to kind of drop their power users who need Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft is still going to be the one I'm going with. But they also wanted to make sure that they were aligned with their, end goal and their kind of, which is exactly what you hinted to. So to kind of solve both of these problems, they decided to rebrand. And they rebranded as Keap. So the company is Keap, and the new software is also Keap. The old software, which they don't like it being said like that, but the kind of existing software that we all know and love and use is Infusionsoft by Keap.
Yeah.
And so that's the distinction. That's what they were trying to solve with the rebrand. But
that's like, I suppose, that's like what you would call a house of brands, where you've got the top one, and then each sub product has its own name.
Exactly. Like Intuit's done with QuickBooks.
That's exactly what I was waiting to say. It's
sorry.
like Intuit with QuickBooks. It's exactly like that. So it's like it has its own. So Infusionsoft will still have its own kind of area and ecosystem, of its own inside of Keap. And also, I think it kind of makes sense to have Infusionsoft by Keap, because the Infusionsoft users who exist already know about it, and it keeps the familiarity with them, but brings in the Keap thing. Yeah. And then because Keap, the software, is newer, that needs, in my opinion, to be closer tied to the main brand, so that they can push that with more force. Let more people know about it. So they've probably got the right balance. To be honest, I mean, it's Infusionsoft by Keap. I think over time most people aren't going to say Infusionsoft by Keap. No. They may just drop the by Keap thing, because people start people don't say QuickBooks by Intuit. No, they just say QuickBooks. So I think the same will happen. But for right now, that's a good way to do it, because when I speak to my clients, and if they're a business which has been around a while and they're rebranding, one of the ways to make the progression easier for your existing customers is to have like the big logo and then the new logo smaller, and you start, you're kind of saying, here's what's happening. And then over time, you switch them around, and then you eventually drop off the old one. I'm not saying that everyone does that. Sometimes it's just better to just make the cut and drop the old one and get people talking about the new one. But when it's something which has been a long time embedded, and maybe your customers deal with you once a year, then it makes sense to kind of make a bit of a slower transition for those customers and keep them on board. I mean, it was good that Infusionsoft did kind of have that call with you. Okay, it was after the fact in a way. They were basically saying, here's what,
you're right.
Here's what we've done. This is why. So but I'm sure that the whole time that they were speaking with Pentagram, they were feeding back, here's what our partners are feeling and want. Exactly. And all of that's in there. But if you try to rebrand and have a consultation with partners all the way through, you've got a 10-year rebrand on your hands.
Yes, it'll be a total mess because they don't want change. And I think you need
to just do it. You need to just kind of say, are we all in on this? Yeah. Let's get it done, and then deal with it the right way. And it sounds like they have dealt with it the right way.
I think they did do it the right way. I mean, the Infusionsoft community was kind of in uproar when they heard about it, because people don't like change, similar to the way everyone was in uproar when Infusionsoft announced it. I think it's the right move.
It's uncertainty. And it's like you said earlier on, it's like, okay, they've changed the name, or did I say it? I can't remember. They've changed the name. Does that mean they're going to change the workings of how I do my business every single day? I've almost built up muscle memory of using Infusionsoft. I can just do things, and I know this will be the outcomes. If they change one element of that, I'm going to have to relearn it. I haven't got time to relearn it. So you've got a lot of the pent up aggression that comes from these sorts of changes.
Yeah.
It's a not selfish, but it's like,
it is in a way.
How will this impact me and my business and my customers?
Yeah.
All because you wanted to change a logo.
That's exactly it. And I think Infusionsoft's done a good job through its partner community of reassuring people that Infusionsoft is not changing. It's not going anywhere. This new platform, this Keap, effectively, which isn't that new, but Keap, it doesn't mean Infusionsoft is disappearing. Yeah. Infusionsoft is staying there. Its development is actually doubling. So it's having much more development. And it's got an amazing team of core developers, and Keap has its own team of core developers.
All around. Yeah, exactly. It's better all around. That's the thing. A lot of the anger and stuff is driven by the media.
Yeah,
it's driven by like any news story. If it's a slow news day, they'll post a headline, and you get people who only read headlines, and they react on the headlines. Exactly. That's like, so someone looking at a logo on a white page and reacting to it, that's almost the same as reading a newspaper headline and not reading the
article.
So that's what I try to convince people to do these days, is when you see a new logo, read the article before you comment on the headline.
Yeah.
Because you'll get a better understanding of what they're trying to do or what the story's about. And then you go, oh. And if you still feel negative towards it, you can at least argue your case in a constructive way, rather than
an informed way.
First instincts going, that's shit. But if you can say that's shit and here's why, because I don't agree with the progression they're trying to make and stuff, so you can have a constructive argument.
Very different.
So let's all stop being headline readers and be article readers from now on in anything.
Imagine how better the world would be.
I know. It's a hard task. It's a hard ask for some people, but because time's short and time to read articles. I get everything I need to know about the world from headlines, and that's why the world's in the state it is today. So
right.
Get a little bit political.
We get super political, but it's good. We should be political about this stuff. All right, so that kind of deals with the problem Infusionsoft was trying to solve. Now Keap was trying to solve when they did the rebrand and why they did the rebrand, but there's actually a story behind the word Keap. And I think it's an important story. I think it's something that we all kind of go through as small business owners. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to share a little bit of what that story is.
Cool.
So it all kind of started way back when Clayton Mask was setting up Infusionsoft. So Clayton Mask and the Martineau brothers, so Ed and Scott Martineau, are the kind of three core people who set up Infusionsoft. And they kind of had a really tough time of it, as most businesses do when they're starting out. When you're starting out as a small business, it's hard going. And they kind of did 2 years of hard slog. And when they were going into their third year, Clay had like a bunch of debt that he had from doing all of his university stuff, over 100,000 in debt. Plus he had a young family who was very kind of, obviously young families need feeding, and it was a big family as well. And then a wife who wasn't a stay-at-home mom. She was working incredibly hard to support the family, and he still wasn't bringing money in. And they had lots of arguments about this. They have a great marriage and relationship by all accounts. But their marriage was going through difficulty because of the stress of setting up Infusionsoft. And so she eventually said to him, if you don't go and get a job, I might have to do something drastic, sort of a deal. You know, so there was a lot of kind of arguments about this. And it came to this one point where Clay's mom was around visiting the family, and she was hungry and went to the fridge and went to go and get a snack in the fridge, and the fridge was empty.
Nothing there.
Save some condiments. So like just totally bare. And she made some excuses and left, and came back with a bunch of groceries that just kind of gone and bought for them. And it was when Clay and his wife saw the groceries and realized that they'd be able to feed their family properly that night, that Clay kind of just broke down completely, because he realized the position he'd put his family in. He had that entrepreneurial vision of, I'm going to get here and work. But the reality sometimes is that it might not be working. And he agreed with his wife that night that he would go and look for a job. And he got to the office the next day and just dealt with all of his stuff. And before he knew it, he was kind of at the end of the day, and he hadn't looked for a job, and it was too late. And so he had to get in his car and drive home, knowing that he had to speak to his wife, having not done the thing he promised to do. And knowing that their relationship was kind of at that point where if he didn't do something, that was it. And so he walked into the kitchen, and she was standing at the kitchen sink with her back to him. And she didn't turn around and greet him. She said, "Did you look for a job?" And he had to say, "No, I didn't." And he kind of thought that that was it. And she turned around and hugged him and said, "Don't, just keep going." And it's that, just keep going, that is just amazing, you know, in terms of, and that's why they chose it, because that's what you have to do as a small business. You have to keep going. You have to keep customers. You have to keep communicating. You have to keep pushing. You have to keep working ridiculous hours. You have to keep going at all times throughout that process. And so that phrase, keep going, has stuck with them the entire time. And that's why they chose Keap. And so it has so much meaning behind it. And so it is a story that is every entrepreneur's story. It's my story. It's your story. It's relevant. Story.
Yeah, it's relevant to everyone that uses the software.
You've got to keep going. You've got to keep trying. You've got to keep working. You've got to keep servicing. You've got to keep doing all the things that keep you moving in the right direction. And that's why they chose the word keep.
With an arrow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? It's really
cool. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said right at the beginning, is I have a feeling that's why there's an arrow in this. It's about forward momentum. Don't look back. Keep going forward. Keep going. Yeah. You know, keep communicating, and good things will happen. And a lot of brands do that. That's why a lot of brands have arrows in there. Some are better carried out than others. But when you've got this kind of personal story behind a brand and your core values, your foundations are solid, and you can really push forward, and you can get people. The difficult thing is, you know, that took you a little while to tell me that story. Exactly. And again, it comes down to not everyone's going to take the time to learn that story. So the brand has to be successful without people knowing that he'd had a hard time setting up the business.
It's versatile as well, in like the way that you mentioned it, like keep communicating.
Exactly. You don't need to know the deeper story. It has meaning around the business objectives.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as the personal stuff in the background.
Exactly.
And that's what's key here.
That's 100%
for them, for the you know, for the initial people, it ties them closer to the brand so many years down the line. They're like, I've never felt closer to my brand than I do now that I've got my own story out there, part of the brand. It's now not just some piece of tech they've invented. It's part of their life story. Yeah. So for them, they're invested, so they'll want to make it the best that it can be. So they'll communicate more. So it all, to some people, me saying this, they'll be like, what a lot of rubbish. It's just a piece of software and you're trying to make it out to be this, romanticism about brand and stuff. It's like, but that's what people catch on to. People like working with people, real people, and not faceless organizations. And that's why more and more organizations are trying to be more human, because it works. The little Starbucks story about making the mermaid look in a way more unrealistic, not this perfectionism, not a perfection of beauty, but a slight difference. That's what people are used to. Nobody's symmetrical, so you have to have that little bit of off balance, and that kind of comes to that awkward looking K. But when you look closer at the awkward looking K and you hear the story and you think about moving forward and arrows, and you're like, there's the arrow hitting, and moving up. It's, it's got almost a deflection feel. So on
the arrow thing, here is the pentagram brand identity that they did with Keap. And it kind of really brings it in. So I'm just going to play you this little video here. This is like when you were talking about automation earlier.
Yeah.
This is the automation for Keap. There you can really see the arrow, and you can really see where that arrow comes in. And Infusionsoft,
it's really jerky on this end.
Yeah.
So hopefully people can see the smoothness of not. If not, you can go to the Pentagram website and watch it move more slowly. It's just one of these things when you're doing webcam calls.
Yeah.
Things aren't smooth, but you can see from that.
Yeah.
That's exactly that, and that's exactly what popped into my head when I first saw the logo. I was like, "There's going to be arrows all over this branding.
Arrows everywhere.
Arrows everywhere." And so I've deliberately stayed away from the Keap website, so I'm presuming that there is arrows now.
Yeah, it's like starting, because they're taking those few tender steps into that process. But if you want to kind of have a bit more of the Keap story, is here. But what I wanted to show you is like
look at that app. Yeah, look at that app screen. Look at that iPhone app screen. That app icon stick. That's what I was saying about having a short name and stuff, is that you can have the whole name larger or one individual letter larger. And I kind of want to touch on the typeface as well, in that they've used a sans serif one, but they've rounded all of the edges, all of the corners have been rounded, which gives a more welcoming, softer approach, bit cuddlier, warmer. And I think that again, that emphasizes the human nature of it and the people side of things. And because it's thicker as well, it adds to that kind of weight and solidity. So I'm a big fan of doing that to fonts and typefaces, where you create a version, if you're trying to get across a human side, that it's got a bit more weight to it and softer. I mean, it looks the business card, it's just boom, this is it, here we are,
there, isn't it? Yeah. Having that nice short word. I mean, and it's like here you can see them using all of the arrows and everything. There is one thing that I do not like about the rebrand, and this is a personal opinion and stuff. I don't like the font that they've utilized. I just don't like it. It's just, for me, it looks like Times New Roman a little bit too much. Just like the standard.
I find a lot of brands are kind of using typefaces like that now. I think
it's not my cup of tea.
I think
that's me.
Edgar and stuff are using these types. They're pairing up the serif font with the sans serif of the logo. I can see that's I like it. I think it works.
Not my cup of tea though. But that's
personal taste wise there.
Just a completely personal.
Oh, see, that looks. Yeah, see now that little neon sign there. You can, because of the way they've done it, you can see the arrow really clearly inside the body of the K.
Yeah.
You know, you can see it there. You've got that
That sense of movement.
So
yeah,
that worked well.
And then you can,
I think Pentagram have done a good job with this one.
you can see the colors. I'm not so the green, the way Infusionsoft kind of said to us about it, the green, the reason Infusionsoft itself was always green until like a little mini rebrand last year where they made it blue and we couldn't figure out why. They've gone back to that original green, but the green is the color of it's an entrepreneurial color, and so they've kind of focused on that small business entrepreneurial green color, and I like it. Not so sure about the other ones, but again, that's just personal opinion. What do you feel about the colors?
Again, it's hard to say just by looking at an animation of some blocks. Color can really change when you see it in use. So if they're maybe using blue for call to actions or something like that in the website, then it would contrast well with the green. So your eye would be drawn to specific areas. Yeah. So I think I would need to have a bit more time of seeing it in use on the Keap website and materials. But interesting there that's a customized typeface that they're using, Ivorsoft, which I presume will have come from another Ivor from the Typeface family, and they've just rounded all the edges. But I like it.
I mean, this was important to me, the way that all the arrows work together. And the reason it was important to me as a certified partner is when I am explaining things, as you well know, because you've been
I still have my chart.
You still have your chart. We do everything
arrows in charts. Journeys and round and circles and keeping people in loops and stuff. So it makes perfect sense.
I think they've done a good job.
It's also kind of got a bit of a retro feel to it.
It does, doesn't it?
Which is kind of a bit of a trend at the moment. I'm not one for kind of designing stuff around trends because trends become dated. But I like it. It's really graphic, really graphical. Minimal text and big graphics. And I think that's important if you can communicate a lot of your messaging through the fewest words supported by, a piece of branding or a brand associated graphic, then you're onto a good thing. And looking at that one there with the photograph and keep going the extra mile, keep putting yourself for it. It's, it's great messaging. I think it works really well.
Tools to keep you going. And it really does it really does speak to it. And they said to us the reason they put the A in it is you can't really own a word like keep unless
it's a functional. You can't own functional things. So it's a functional word. But by changing the A, I could see from a trademarking registration point of view,
makes it much easier.
More uniqueness.
So and then what would really intrigue me is that they've used these La Tigre. Don't know who La Tigre are, but they've used La Tigre and they're using all of these little custom images.
Okay.
Which are again they have that retro feel to them, don't they? Like you said earlier, which is kind of interesting and kind of trendy for now. So it is,
And those could change. The brand can still evolve. Over time and work with tastes and stuff. That's I think once people see the arrow in the K, they won't be able to unsee it, and so it'll make sense when they see the K on its own.
Exactly, it will be less awkward at that point as well.
So I think it's a good move. It's a brave move. It's always a brave move, a very brave move to do it when you've got a business of that size. Businesses have folded for less.
I think they've done it the right way because you can when you see it here, this is how they explained to us that they were going to be using it. Keep your promises, keep pulling late nights, keep going the extra mile, keep saying no to other things, keep putting others before yourself, keep stretching the realm of possibility, and then on the other side of the bag it's got keep.
Some of those I'll disagree with. Keep putting others before yourself. I disagree with.
Very American.
Look after yourself, and then keep what was the other one? Keep working late or something.
Keep pulling late nights. But I
Yeah,
think
you know, it's like,
beginning,
okay, you should have a choice, but those can be that's part of the hustle mentality.
It is, and I think, but I feel like the hustle mentality is good for the start of stuff. It's not necessarily
you
good.
Can't keep it. It's not an ongoing thing. So, if that's why they're using it as a boost, if someone's feeling a bit down, then do it. But someone could be failing because they're not looking after themselves and because they are working constantly at night. So then a slight, if we want to look at negatives of it, then that for me is a fine line.
That's not full of Gary V. Yeah.
Yeah, fine line where to walk with this. But just looking at all the merch and stuff,
I did actually get one of these boxes, and I was hoping that it would be easily available, but it's not, which I just loved, because when I opened it up, it said you're a keeper. We have an in joke in the certified partner forum, because we've always been Infusionsoft certified partners. We've never said we're an Infusionsoft certified partner, because it's such a long thing to say. We've always shortened it to ICPs. And I didn't get it for a very long time. I had no idea why they'd chosen that picture as the head of the Facebook group was a bowl of frozen peas. I just thought because he was green, they chose it.
ICPs.
But they're ICPs. And like, when I got it, and it was hilarious, and I loved it. So everyone was like really upset about the fact that we were losing our ICPs.
You're losing the peas. Yeah.
And then when they said you're a keeper, we were like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
But someone else, Greg from Monkey Pod Marketing, suggested a different thing, and he had keep the peas. In terms of the fact that there's already
campaigns to keep peas and stuff in it. Yeah, you could play on that as well.
Yeah, we had a great time fooling around with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the Keap and Infusionsoft story. Thanks for that, Col. It was really nice getting a bit of insight into what you thought.
It's good to kind of, it's hard to try not look at stuff when you're a designer, because it's showing up on every group and forum and newsletter. And I'm like, no.
Okay, so for everybody watching, I said to Col when this released a week ago that I wanted to do this video. And I said, Col, we've got to do this. And he was like, oh my God, I have to keep myself away from that stuff. And I was like, I'm really sorry.
It was hard. I mean, I did see the logo. I couldn't not.
The
logo, but I stayed away from looking at why it was
this kind of stuff
named that, and why it was there. So I wanted to hear the story from you and stuff. So it's interesting that my thoughts were pretty spot on, aligned with what it was they were trying to do. So
no, that was great. Thanks, Col. I mean, it's just really nice hearing from a proper expert. So if you're watching this, then you should definitely go and check out the Pixels Inc. stuff. So Pixel Inc. is Pixels plural, isn't it? Inc.com.
Pixels, yeah. Pixel Inc. or Pixel Sync, whatever, but it's one word.
One word.
Yeah.
So go check him out on pixelsinc.com. He's got a great website. It's very pretty, as you'd expect. But also have a look
and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Yeah, have a look at his YouTube channel. He's got some pretty awesome stuff on YouTube. A lot of his videos I've watched religiously when it comes to our own branding. So if you're looking for any kind of expertise and stuff, just hit Col up. He's the man. And if you're looking for anything related to Keap and Infusionsoft, you want to chat about which one is the right one for you, you can hit us up anytime. Just head to automationninjas.com. You can pop me an email at kenda@automationninjas.com or ninja@automationninjas.com, and we can set up a time to chat through that stuff. Really happy to help with this. All right, so thank you for watching that, and thank you, Col. That was great.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Right, go forth and be epic, everybody.